In this lesson, we're going to learn how to divide whole numbers by a one-digit divisor. Okay, division is actually the act of taking a number of items, or the dividend, and breaking it up into groups evenly. The divisor is the number of groups, to determine how many items you will have in each group. The answer is going to be your quotient. You will also need to find out if there will be any left over, which will be your remainder. Let's look at our division vocabulary. So over here, you're going to see that we have our problem set up, and each part of this problem is going to have its own vocabulary word. So if you look at the 453, this is the number of items that we are actually dividing, and that vocabulary term is called the dividend. Now, the dividend, this number, is going to be divided into a number of equal groups, and that is represented here. So I would read this problem as 453 divided by 7. The 7 is called the divisor. Now, once you divide the 453 by 7, you're going to get your answer of 64. That's the number that will be in each of these 7 groups. The 64, or the answer to a division problem, is called the quotient. And finally, when we do divide, as in this problem, sometimes you have some left over, and we call that the remainder. Now pause the video and copy that information into your notes. Okay, we're going to begin by looking at a problem. So in this problem up here, it says, single servings of yogurt are sold in packages of 4. How many packages can be made from 378 single servings? How many servings are left over? So there are 2 parts to this problem. We would set this problem up and read it 378 divided by 4. And as you can see over here, it's set up within the brackets, and this is where we would actually do our work. So just like every other operation, we're going to follow some steps. So step 1, the first thing that we need to do is decide where to place the first digit of the quotient. So we're going to start at the left in the hundreds place in the dividend, and we have to decide, are there enough in the digit 3 that I would be able to get a group of 4 out of it? The answer is no. So I'm going to place X's over the 3 because I need to show that that is not where I'm going to begin my answer. Next thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to follow an order, and we use the phrase, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers rare? And each one of those words represents a different part of the order to solving a division problem. So the first thing I want to do is divide. And because I can't take any groups of 4 out of 3, I'm now going to move over to, I'm going to add in the tens place here, and I'm going to look at 37. So how many groups of 4 can I get out of 37? And I can get 9 groups of 4 out of 37. Now I'm going to move on to the multiply part. So I'm going to multiply the 9 by 4, and I'm going to write my answer just below it, 36. And now I'm going to move on to the subtract part. So I'm going to subtract my 36 from 37, and I'm going to get 1. Now the C part, or the cheese part, means to check, is my answer, is my 1, less than my divisor? Because if it's not less than the divisor, then I'm going to need to change this number. So since 1 is less than 4, I can assume that that's right, and then I can move on to the next part, which is the B, burgers, which means bring down the next number. So I'm going to draw an arrow here and bring down my 8, and that's going to give me 18. The last part of my saying is rare, which means repeat, and I'm going to repeat. So I'm going to start at the beginning, and now I'm going to look at, can I divide 18 by 4? How many groups of 4 can I get out of 18? And I can get 4 groups of 4 out of 18. So now I'm going to multiply. 4 times 4 is 16, and then I'm going to subtract. 18 minus 16 is 0, or I'm sorry, 18 minus 16 is 2, and 2 would be my remainder. Now the last thing that I have down here is we want to write a remainder as a fraction. And so if I look at my divisor, I have a divisor of 4. That's telling me how many pieces I need to make a whole. So that is going to be my denominator, because my denominator always tells me how many pieces I need to make a whole. And now for my numerator, I'm going to use the pieces that I have left over, the 2, and I'm going to use that as my numerator. So the answer to my problem, 378 divided by 4, would be 94 and 2/4. Now let's do a couple together. So I have the problem here, 3,904 divided by 8. So first I'm going to look at my thousands place over on the left. I'm going to see how many groups of 8 I can get out of 3. I can't get any groups of 8 out, so I'm going to decide that's not where I'm going to begin my answer. And now I'm going to be looking at 39. So how many groups of 8 can I get out of 39? Well, I can get 4 groups of 8. And then I'm going to multiply. 4 times 8 is 32. And now I'm going to sell in my saying, or subtract. 39 minus 32 is 7. And now I'm going to check. 7 is less than 8, so I can move on to the next part of my problem, and I can now bring down my 0. Now I have 70 divided by 8, and 8 goes into 70 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. I'm going to subtract. And now I'm going to bring, I'm going to check. 6 is less than 8. Now I can bring down my 4. And the last part of my problem is, now I'm dividing 64 divided by 8. Now, I'm going to get, there are 8 groups of 8 in 64. So 8 times 8 is 64. And now I subtract, and I have no remainder. So the answer to my question, 3,904 divided by 8, is 488, with no remainder. This next problem, 6,438 divided by 4, might have something a little tricky in it. So again, I'm going to be looking at my first digit. Can I get any groups of 4 out of 6 to decide where I'm going to begin my quotient? I can get at least one group of 4 out of 6. So now I'm going to multiply. 4 times 1 is 4. And then I'm going to subtract. I'm going to get 2. 2 is less than 4. So I can now move on and bring down my next digit, which is a 4. Now I'm going to divide. 24 divided by 4, and 4 goes into 24 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. And then I subtract, and I get 0. Now, 0 is less than 4. So my next step would be to bring down my 3, and here is where it's tricky. If I'm looking at 3 here, I know that I cannot get any groups of 4 out of 3. So I need to bring down another digit, but I can't do that until I actually put the 0 in the quotient, because I can't get 4 out of 3. So once I put that 0 in the quotient, I can then multiply. 0 times 4 is 0, and then subtract, and then I have my 3, and 3 is less than 4. So now I can bring down my 8, and I can continue. 38 divided by 4 is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. Now I can subtract. I'm going to get 2. So the answer to my problem would be 1,609 with a remainder of 2/4. Now you're going to solve the next two problems on your own. So the first one you're going to solve is 8,768 divided by 9. Go ahead and pause the video while you solve this problem. The answer you should have gotten is 974 with a remainder of 2, or we're going to write that as a fraction as 974 and 2/9. Go ahead and pause the video as you solve the next problem. Yes, I now see that there are not enough blocks to use for this problem on this paper, but the answer you should have gotten should be 11,841 with no remainder. In this video, you learned how to divide whole numbers, by a one-digit divisor with and without remainders.